Did it go live? Oh, I am. Sorry. Cool. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Um, oh, shoot. Got you up on the phone. Just so I can see the chat. Uh, cool. Well, my name's Tim. I am a program director over at National Novel Writing Month, and we're so stoked to be doing these virtual write-ins with y'all. If you've never been to a virtual write-in before, basically, we're going to just spend today probably around like half an hour or so doing some writing exercises, some prompts. And if you have been to a virtual write-in before, you might be surprised that we're holding these outside of an event month because usually we do them during like Camp NaNoWriMo or National Novel Writing Month. And it is not April, July, or November. But we just figured, like writing is a year-round thing. Hopefully during the camp or NaNoWriMo months, you are creating a habit of writing that you can kind of like really sink into through the rest of the year. And we figured we love writing with y'all during these virtual writings so much. Why don't we try to do them more often? So yeah, we're doing them more often. You might have seen them with Mariah before, and all right, just double checking that these it's all working. All right, it looks like the chat's working. Cool. Thanks, Lucid Step, about the shirt compliment. It's a Camp Nano shirt. Hey. Yeah, let me know. So we can see you all in the in the comments, of course. Let us know. Let me know. I want to know what you guys are working on. What are you writing about? Would love to hear about that. It is short story month in May. We're still in May. So are you working on short stories? Are you working on a novel? I know that Mariah, who hosted our last virtual writing maybe a week or a couple weeks ago, is doing a bunch of short stories, which is really super cool. I've never really tackled short stories before. I've always been a novel kind of guy, but definitely feel something appealing there. Like I feel like you can just churn through some ideas, which would be neat. Uh, Whoa, holy cow. Okay, cool. So Bats Rule is working on a 25K, 10-day WWE fanfic. Super cool. Zenflower 54 is writing a whole bunch of news stories, but the main one I'm working on is a novella. Novellas are awesome, and technically, uh, like I feel like you can kind of define what how long a novella is exactly. Lady Nadia is working on her first novel. I've been rewriting now Adventure Chapter 4. Nice, that's awesome. Um, this is super cool. Lucy Steps working on a 100-page story about a kid who becomes a god. Dun, dun, dun. I love it. Cool. All right. Well, so I have some prompts in mind and kind of a theme for this virtual write-in, but as usual, if you've been to a virtual write-in, if the prompts don't work for you, like please don't feel beholden to using them. I mean, really, we just want this to be a time where we can kind of write together, spend some time keeping each other accountable, knowing that for the next like half hour, 45 minutes, we'll spend, at least like 20 to 30 minutes just concentrating on writing and getting into that groove. Because I don't know about you guys, but like I feel like things get just so busy, and every once in a while I'm just like, oh man, like I just never kind of like sat myself down and really wrote today. Even though like there were like moments that I could have stolen away and taken them, I just didn't really seize the opportunity or didn't feel like there were just like a million other reasons to do it. So the fact that you're here, that you're committed to doing a little bit of writing today, and that we're going to do it together as a group is so cool. And I'm excited. I'm hoping to get a few hundred words in. So in terms of theme, I was thinking about like what I wanted to talk to y'all about for writing today, and I thought the cool thing about having a virtual write-in outside of an event month is that like maybe there's a little bit more flexibility. Like you don't necessarily have a project in mind. You're not working on a very specific novel, although a lot of you guys are, which is really cool too. But I thought maybe there's a little bit room for experimentation. And when I was thinking about experimentation, I was like, all right, what kinds of people experiment a lot? I thought about like scientists, of course, and like doing the whole like scientific observation process. But where I landed was kind of like kids, right? Like kids just try to do a lot of stuff. And I remember like when we think about like, oh, when I was thinking about when's a time in my life that I felt really free to pretend, to make stuff up. I think about childhood in a lot of ways. And I think that's like when, at least for me, like I started like telling stories. And so these prompts are kind of based off the ways that we used to tell stories or like make stuff up as a kid. I almost cursed there. I'm glad I did not. So if you look in the video description below, you'll see kind of some of the prompts there, which will be which will be the foundation for kind of like what we're going to try to do today. So I think I'm talked enough. I feel like we could jump into a writing sprint right now. And does everybody know what a word sprint is? Yes, no, maybe so. Looking in the comments, looking in the comments. Um, Okay, kind of. All right. So a word sprint basically it's a time writing exercise. So we'll set like, give you like 5, 10, 7 minutes, whatever. And during that time, we're just focused on writing as much as we can. And then at the end of the word sprint, you kind of count how many words you wrote during that sprint. We'll share that. And then if you feel so moved, if you're down to share a sentence or two, we'd love to hear those too. So I think we're going to start with this first whoop, Spront. Yo, Ari, this is an old school reference. I love it. So we're going to start with this first Spront. Let me see if I can find it, make sure that we're all on the same page. Yeah, okay. So, do y'all remember when you used to tell each other scary stories as kids? Like, I remember being super terrified because there were these older kids, slightly older kids. They were telling me about Bloody Mary, and then straight up, I could not be in a bathroom alone for so long. If you don't know, Bloody Mary, in addition to being an alcoholic beverage, is also kind of this like childhood story that went around at my elementary school. And I was just like, if you went into a bathroom, turned off the lights, looked into the mirror, and said Bloody Mary 3 times. This like spirit of Bloody Mary, of like a bloody woman, would show up in the mirror. Was that just me? I mean, other people have heard that, right? Anyway, so I thought like one kind of cool thing is like those stories, like it's such a simple concept, but like those scary stories just hook into your brain, right? So I figured it might be fun in the summer during the daytime, or at least summer here in Berkeley, to think about some scary stories. So I figure for the first prompt, we'll spend maybe like 5 minutes on a writing sprint. And the suggested prompt, if you want to use it, is to start a scary story. And if you want to, it could start in a dark bathroom. I feel like there's potential for both horror and humor there. All right, cool. So we're gonna go for 5 minutes. I'm setting the clock right now, and let's do some writing. About a minute and a half left in this sprint. Oh, cool, that's time. If you are ready, wrap up a sentence and then let me know how many words you wrote during that sprint. And then if you want to share a sentence, that'd be awesome. If you happen to write something scary, super cool. I'd love to hear about it. I'm going to make my way back to the chat. Oh, there it is. Uh, cool. I did see someone asking what's in my hand. It is a pen. It's just in the shape of a wand. I think this one specifically is supposed to be Gandalf's staff. It's kind of cool. It's very fun to like wave around because like I mean I should be holding it this way probably, right? If it's a wand. But this way it's like top heavy, it's kind of fun. It's like a fidget spinner, low key. Cool. Let's see. Katie did wrote 98 words in that sprint, which is awesome. Ari didn't follow the prompt at all, but 171 written. Cool. What did you write instead? Did you just continue your work? Take Quartet official wrote 151 words. Amazing. Lucid Step, 173 words. Katie did ask, it's not Harry's one? That honestly, maybe. We have we have a few of these here, and I know some of them are Harry Potter related and some of them are Lord of the Rings related. And I confess, I'm pretty geeky, but I guess not geeky enough to identify these on site. So if you know, let me know. Let's see. Caitlin Thompson wrote roughly 385 words. That's incredible. Oh, cool. Some sentences come in. So Bats Rule wrote, as I walked through the top floor of the car park, I heard footsteps, so I stopped walking. The footsteps grew quicker and louder. Uh, the car parks, why are car parks so scary? They just are, right? Um, like immediately, like there was nothing even about like what the time of day or anything, but like in my mind, immediately conjured it. Like it's like, it's pitch black, it's nighttime, maybe the moon is out, and footsteps just creeping along behind you. Lucid steps. I couldn't really stick to the prompt, or maybe I'm not good at being scary. Yeah, that's interesting. I've never really written horror fiction before. Like that's not my bag, and I don't really write like scary things like even scary scenes in general. But I don't know. When I was thinking about like being a kid, like it's interesting that like scary stories. I feel like I really remember telling and hearing a lot of scary stories as a kid. There's something about it that just feels like so like jolting and like just sticks in your mind. So like I like it as an exercise of just thinking about like, oh, like how do I make, because I feel like horror forces you to be so immediate, to make your scene feel really visceral. And I feel like just as a writing exercise, that's kind of a cool thing to do, to think about like, okay, how do I build up feelings of dread in the reader? How do I build up feelings of suspense? How do I make them start feeling like, the hairs on the back of their neck are just like starting to stand up? Lady Nadia wrote, if it was one of us, we would have died, especially with Wolfsbane. They hadn't made him like this. Gabriel was different from the start. Who or what had toyed with his anatomy? So cool. I feel like this is also like a really interesting exercise about horror. Like, there's something about that unknown that's just unsettling, right? Like the way that Lady Nadia kind of poses this question, like, and introduces a mystery, while also like there's like a threat to like your existence, but you don't know what or where that threat is coming from. Like that's so scary. David Dreamer wrote 48 words, but I write with a pen. Yeah, I was writing by hand too. Let's see. Jillian Rose says, "My skin was turning into scales as my sister smiled evilly." Oh my gosh, there's something about just these like quick sentences that are almost scarier, just because it leaves so much to the imagination and you have so many questions, right? Tick Quartet official says, "I wrote a horror crime thriller for Camp Nano in April. It's so cool. Do you have any tips? Like what did you find like made your writing feel really scary? Like what was different about that than like writing something that's not horror?" Zenflower at 54 says, "Any words is an accomplishment." 100%. Like, like I think some people just write faster, some people are writing by hand, some people are typing. Um, I think the fact that you're writing at all is a major accomplishment. And again, like even for me, like I work at NaNoWriMo, I tend to kind of get in this bad habit where like if it's not a NaNoWriMo month or event, if it's not Camp NaNoWriMo or it's not NaNoWriMo, my writing drops off severely. So the fact that you're still here, that you're writing, that you're continuing to like make this an established part of your life, that you're making time for it in your day is like a huge deal. Lucy Steps asks, should we save our sprints? Yeah, I think so. I mean, so like sometimes with these sprints, like I write things that are like completely unrelated to like the main project that I'm working on, and so it can feel like it's like, oh, I'm like that's not going to be useful. But you'd be surprised. Like I've had multiple instances where like I wrote something that I thought was going to be unrelated, but it turned into like a really cool idea for like the next novel or for the next story, or it turned into something that could be adapted into what I'm working on now and actually spun it in a whole new direction. So you should totally save save the writing if you want to. Like I have a doc that's just like like random snippets or whatever. So you could dump it in there. Yeah, I would say save it, right? Vienna Ramirez says, writes, "It's said that if you find yourself alone on the street at night, you will find yourself hearing the soft whispers of the willow wisps." There's something almost like verse like about that. Like there's a rhythm and like a poetry to it. Did you mean to write it that way? Like that's really cool. Oh man, Caitlin Thompson is baking a cake right now. That's so cool. I'm very jealous. I would love to eat some cake right now. Take Quartet official says, okay, so the biggest difference between the horror novel and everything else I've written was that there was a lot of suspense. Yeah, I think that the buildup is just as important and scary as the event itself. Yeah, like that makes so much sense now that I think about it. Because like it is like, I think usually the scariest things are the things that like you're not seeing, that like you're only seeing from the corner of your eye. Cool. Well, I hope this prompt was fun for you if you used it. But let's move on to this next one. So, this one was kind of inspired by the fact that, like, kids love to like knock stuff down. You know what I mean? Like, you spend all this time building something up, and then just like you take all this like joy and kind of like just like watching it all crumble to the ground. So, in that spirit, tapping into that inner child, that sheer love for destruction. You can take what you wrote during this last sprint, or you can take maybe something else that you've written in the past. But just like, what would it mean to knock that down, to kind of like destroy the underpinnings of that world? So, like, if you wrote something scary for this last print, what for this last print, cool. For this last sprint, like, what would it look like if you flooded it with light? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's it's a little bit more of an abstract prompt, but the spirit of it is just to like, yeah, kind of take something that you've established, take something you've written already, a world you've created, characters you've put together, and spend the next 5 minutes knocking it down. See what it likes if it all tumbles to the floor. All right, cool. I'm gonna set a timer right now for another 5 minutes. Should we do 5 minutes? Should we do 7 minutes? Did that feel long or short to people? Uh, let's do 5 minutes. All right, starting now. Oh, okay, wait. People are saying it felt too short. Okay, all right. I'm gonna set it. I'm gonna set it for 7 minutes. All right. Let's start that now. Just about a few minutes left. A little more than halfway through this sprint. Just about a minute left. That's time. All right. So let me know how many words you wrote during that sprint. And then again, if you want to share a sentence or two, that'd be really cool. If you decided to use the prompt, what did it look like to tear everything down? I wrote like a page and a half, which is a little bit more than the page I wrote the last time around. Oh, cool. People are talking about the writing music they have on in the background. I just read this article about how like this one author plays the same song over and over and over and over because it's like in the repetition it starts to become like true background noise, but then it also occupies her mind just enough so that like she can get past a little bit of her normal rhythms and like get into like a writing rhythm, which was super interesting. I don't know if I could do that. Let's see. Decorate says, I have thunderstorm sounds playing in the background right now because my autistic character only likes that kind of stuff, not a lot of music. Oh, so cool. I love the idea of listening to things that you know your main character would be listening to just to get into their head. Like, that feels like a really cool idea. Desire D asks, how do you keep up with the momentum while you're writing? I'm struggling with staying motivated. Ah, shoot. This is like the classic writer's dilemma, right? Like, just like, how do you stay persistent? Do people have suggestions for that? How do you stay persistent? I think for me, like I set like smaller goals, right? Like I think right now my goals are that I want to write at least like I want to write every day, but I don't have any like internal goals of like that I would usually have like in November or something where it's like I need to write 1,667 words a day. Like literally, it's just full stop. I want to write every day, and I think there's something about that. Like even when I'm sitting down, like like I'm gonna sit down in front of my computer for like 10 minutes and just like stare at my document. And I want to try to write just like one sentence or whatever. Like, I think like, there are definitely some days where I just write that one sentence and then I'm just like gone because I'm like, I can't. Like, my brain just feels like it's not functioning. But more often, I feel like I write that one sentence and I'm like, oh, like that spurs a little bit more on. Like, I think it's just the consistency of showing up for yourself, whether you feel that kind of like internal like creative like fire or not, but showing up, setting a routine for yourself. I think that's like that was such a huge game changer for me, at least. BMW Chic wrote 143 words. Ari Tran wrote 202 plus research, always researching. Lucid Step wrote 249 words. It was fiery. I love it. Your world ended in fire. Pretty cool. Zen 554 wrote 190. Woot. Yeah. Katie did 227. Not bad. Not bad at all. That's amazing. Vienna Ramirez 103 this time. Bats rule. I am not allowed to listen to Bon Jovi while writing. Why? David Dreamer, 39 words. It seems that I have no inspiration tonight. You know what? 39 words. That's 39 more than you would have had if you had not started. And again, like I really feel like just showing up for yourself, or showing up for your writing, is a huge, huge like game changer. Like I really feel like it can affect the way that you continue to approach your writing. So even if tonight is not the best night ever and you're not making like ridiculous progress toward where you want to be, you're taking a step toward it, right? And that's one more step. That's one step closer. There we go to where you want to be. Hey demons, it's me, your boy, Vampire Kid. Amazing username. Just joined, but I'm gonna try an idea that seems cute and fun. Nice. Choco Lover 1098 says 203, and I did that with one project, but the music changed for each scene to set the mood. Cool. All right, let's see. I see some sentences coming up. Let's see. Bats rule. We got to the executive floor, and Vince walked out ahead of me, wheeling his trolley case behind him. He opened his office door, held it open for me, and came inside after me, locking it with a click. Is the locking ominous? That feels a little like dun dun dun. Is Vince a good guy? Hmm. Anita Gwynn says, instead of word count, I may focus on scene. Yeah. Word count, we use it just because like it's a really great like shorthand for like progress. But if word count is not working for you, or like you feel like that's not something that's going to motivate you, you should totally feel free to focus on something else. Take Quartet Official says, I love to do word crawls, and for the words is pretty fun too. My biggest thing is trying to keep a daily streak so that I always want to write at least one sentence, if only to keep up with my streak. Yeah, totally. We're on the same page. Ella Bella 1245 says, therefore, Isaac did not hear when there was a scratch at his bedroom door, then two, then a loud thump. He finished reading just as a high pitched whine sounded from just beyond the threshold. Terrifying! I hope it's just a dog, a friendly one. Cool. All right. This is great. I feel like so much progress is being made. All right, let's try to do this last sprint. We'll go even longer this time. We'll do like a 10-minute sprint. So this one is inspired by my cousins actually, because I'm the oldest on my mom's side. I just remember my little cousins on my that I love and adore, and they're great. But as kids, like we would buy them toys and stuff, and they used to have like a bunch of Barbies. And I remember every time I came over, they were not playing with the Barbies as you would expect them to be playing with them. Like they were always in some sort of war. There were always like tons of headless Barbies all around. But I think it's just really funny to kind of take the idea of like some sort of like archetype, or some childhood toy that like symbolizes an archetype or something like that, and turning it on its head, or ripping off its head, as the case may be. And so I think this next prompt was about introduce a character based on your favorite childhood toy or story and give it new life. Maybe it is just like continuing to kind of like play into the archetype that it has created, like a GI Joe who is in a war, but maybe there's something like more nuanced about the way that they are reacting to it, or maybe you just go gung ho, full on with it, and just breathe new life through pure enthusiasm and excitement. That could be cool too. So that's kind of the prompt. We'll go for 10 minutes. Of course, again, if the prompts are not helping you, if they're not feeling fun, if they're not helping you kind of like experiment and get into a new groove, and unlock some new aspect of your writing, then 100% feel free to not use it, and continue to work on the writing project that you're working on. But it could be fun. All right, so I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes. We'll go now. About 5 minutes left, so we're at the halfway point. All right, about a minute left in this sprint. Okay, wrap up any sentences. And then, yeah, let me know some word counts and some, if you want to share some final sentences, that would be awesome. During that sprint, Coleman1 asked, I write, but I'm a researcher by nature. I start with looking up one thing and get sucked into a rabbit hole. Ideas to help not get sucked into non-relevant research. This is so real. Okay, so then you say you're a researcher by trade. One thing that I was looking at when I was kind of like refreshing myself on a scientific method is that it's a cycle, right? So then you observe, you make a hypothesis, you test that hypothesis, and then you revise, right? But in order to kind of like get anywhere, in order to make any sort of progress, observation has to be one step, and it has to be a discrete step, and then you have to move on, right? And so then in terms of writing, I feel like sometimes researching is the observation part, right? You're gathering all the information, you're gathering all the materials you can, so that you can then create this world that you feel compelled by, that you want to bring your reader into. And so just remembering that, like, okay, at some point, the research has to stop. And then also just remembering that, like, research doesn't have to be, like, you don't have to have a complete set of research ready in the beginning. Like, you can write and you can leave spaces for yourself, right? So then, like, if there's something that, like, as you're writing, you're like, oh, shoot, like, I actually don't know how, like, I don't know. I actually don't know how like rockets work or what the speed of light is, and I feel like I need to know that for this next scene. I feel like you can leave yourself a note in brackets of just like, hey, like look this up later, come back here and fill this out with more detail, with more accuracy, and then keep moving on with your story because there's still so much story to come up ahead, you know. And so I think for me, like for someone who maybe like as you're writing, you get stuck with like more questions, like you're a naturally curious person, you want to make sure that the writing reflects a certain reality. I think that can really help. Like it can really help you get to a draft that you finished, and then in the editing process, coming back and filling in the accuracy, filling in the details, letting it change scenes as it does. But sometimes you just have to have kind of like your hypothesis. You have to be able to form a hypothesis for the research to then inform it, if that makes sense. Also, more practically, there are like tools like Freedom, like I think they're apps and stuff where basically it like cuts off your internet. You can set yourself for like 30 minutes, cut off my internet. Don't let me browse anything, and then it'll just like force you to focus on whatever you're looking at on your document. Holy smokes, Tay Quartet official wrote 487 words. Zenflower 54 wrote about 205. Lucy's upset. Couldn't follow the prompt there. It didn't really fit for me. That's okay. Totally, totally normal. Hey demons, it's me, your boy Vampire Kid. Cannot get over that username. It's the best. Wrote 83 words. BMW Chic wrote 51. Oh, cool. Sentences. Hello. Lucid Step wrote, tears prick at the corners of your eyes. Were they yours? The frightened heart in this body didn't feel like it was yours. You felt alien, and your vision swirled with white stars against the horizon. So cool. I love that you're using second person. That's really interesting. And that kind of like what's it called? Just like that being out of your body. Like I feel like that's like kind of the feeling that I'm getting from that. Batch Rule says, well, he growled, what is it? What do you need to tell me? I'm resigning. I'm leaving you, but not because I don't love you. I'm leaving you for exactly the opposite reason. Oh man, too much love. I get it. Anita Gwynn wrote approximately 320 words. Joan, the therapist Barbie had. That's incredible. So good. Um, BMW Chick says, I'm fully world building based solely upon my current knowledge, so I don't have to worry as much about being entirely correct. I'm correct for my world. Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. Adulka2824 wrote, where would you go if you had all money and time in the world? Asked Barbie, laying down her surfboard. I would stay right here and now. I have my board, waves, joint, and you. Nice. It sounds relaxing. Who wouldn't love that? Nice. This is awesome. All right. Well, so I think that's kind of the end of our time together. Thank you so much for coming to this virtual write-in. Thank you so much for continuing to write and spending your writing time with us outside of these main event months. If y'all don't know, Camp NaNoWriMo is coming up in July, and the site's going to be ready for new projects pretty soon, in just a couple of weeks. So as soon as June hits, it'll be ready to declare like your new writing projects, whatever you're planning to work on, and that'll be really awesome. And if you are looking for more virtual writings happening, we're planning on scheduling them pretty quick. So hopefully we'll have at least a few more in June before Camp NaNoWriMo hits. And then in Camp NaNoWriMo, of course, we'll have them weekly. So just keep an eye on kind of the events page, and on email, we'll let people know that way. And then, of course, subscribe here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not subscribed already. And then I think there's like a, I don't know, I hear people talking about like a bell icon somewhere below that'll let you know when we post new videos or when we go live again. So if you want to make sure you don't miss more virtual write-ins or other videos that we put up, subscribe, hit that bell. We'll see you. We'll make sure to see you. But yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much for writing with us, and we'll see you soon. We'll write with you soon. Bye.